Head coach Todd Golden hopes to use this win to catapult his team up in the rankings throughout the rest of the season.
Obviously, a great performance by our players tonight. I thought they did a wonderful job executing our game plan from start to finish. Tonight we played with great mental and physical toughness for 40 minutes. Top to bottom, I thought all 8 guys that played answered the bell. We obviously guarded incredibly well tonight. I thought we were great on the glass, and we took care of the ball well enough. And, this is a great result for us, and hopefully this kind of continues to catapult us through the rest of the season.
Gators look to carry their momentum and energy into the weekend when they face Arkansas on Saturday. It's 52 degrees at 12 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, get ready to spend the next 2 hours with our 3 sports-loving ladies. Mia O'Brien, Lauren Brooks, and Taylor Dahl.
Hey, hey.
This is Helmets and Heels
On 1010XL, switched on by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
Show me what you got, pretty lady.
And then there were 6. The Raiders looked at all the fun that every other team that's fired their head coach is having, and they said, we want in too. And despite the fact that we had a tricky quarterback situation this past year, we're going to go ahead and fire our coach too. So Antonio Pierce, the latest name to be added to the list. They just didn't do it on Black Monday or before Black Monday. So now there are 6 NFL jobs that are open. So ladies, I ask you, where does the Jaguars job rank amongst them when you've got situations like the New York Jets, which we've talked about a little bit, the New Orleans Saints, like I said, the Las Vegas Raiders. You've got the New England Patriots, you've got the Chicago Bears, and of course right here in Jacksonville.
So friend of the program, Judy Batista, released her rankings of the then 5 jobs prior to Antonio Pierce being relieved of his duties by the Raiders.
Right, everybody who penned those had to go back quickly and edit and add the Raiders, but I'm going to guess she put the Raiders towards the bottom.
She put the Raiders towards the bottom, but she also put the Jags 4th out of 5.
Oh.
And I saw plenty of Jaguar fans. Mind you, Judy is our friend. She is a friend of the program. She's entitled to her opinion. Obviously, part of why, in her estimation, this job went from being the number 1 most viable head coaching vacancy to number 4 out of 5 was because of the presence of Trent Baalke.
Yeah.
Now, at the same time, I think that you can also look at it as, and I haven't watched this video yet, but CBS just posted a video of our good friend Pete Prisco saying that candidates shouldn't balk over Trent Baalke, and that they should still view this as a viable position. And that is obviously not exactly the tune that Pete had on Jaguars Happy Hour on Monday. And so I'm wondering if upon reflection, 48 hours after Shad Khan's decision, if people around the country are saying, you know what, comparatively, Lauren, to the Raiders situation, to the cap hell the New Orleans Saints find themselves in, to whatever's going on up in the Big Apple with the New York Jets, maybe this still is one of, if not the most viable openings.
Yeah, I think I've seen a lot of the rankings that I have seen all over have the Jags at 3rd or 4th. And I think the Saints and the Raiders are the worst 2 jobs. Most people, I think, would agree with that because of the massive question at quarterback. Also, I think there's a lot of other factors, and that's what the most of the lists I see have the Patriots sitting at the top. And at first, I was like, that's kind of interesting. But the more I started reading into it, the more I understand. The Patriots have by far and away the most cap space to use this offseason. So that obviously is a really appealing thing. When you have $80 million coming into free agency that they're like, hey, let's spend, let's go. So it's something that is appealing. I think that also how Drake May played, especially in the second half of the season, is also appealing. And you have...
with a really bad offensive line.
Yeah, and you have this this young quarterback who you aren't committed to any contract yet, unlike here. You can kind of make him who you want to be. You can build the offense exactly how you want to around Drake May, according to all of his strengths. I think here in Jacksonville, you are kind of sold into certain factors when it comes to obviously your tackles. It seems like those are your tackles at least for the next few years. And I think Brian Thomas Jr. is a massive appeal here. That's probably, to me, maybe one of the biggest appeals to coming to Jacksonville, honestly. But I do all the rankings I see. The Jags have set around 3rd in the ones that I've seen, and most of them have the Patriots, Bears, Jags, Jets, and maybe some move back and forth between the Bears and the Jags or the Jags and the Jets. But, and I get it, because I think there are more things to look at than, okay, this person or this person. You are going to look at cap space. You are going to look at future draft picks you have. That's another thing about New England. They have they don't have one single draft pick given up other than a 6th rounder this year in 2025. Outside of that, they have every single draft pick.
And they have the most cap space.
Yeah, most cap space, 4th pick in the draft. And so there's a lot of things that if you are saying to a general manager, hey, come here, you have a ton of money, you have a ton of draft picks, you have the 4th pick, you have a quarterback, just here's everything, like here's a little bit of a placement. And I do think that does seem appealing to a lot of general managers, because they do want their people, they do want their things, and they want to be able to build a product from not them being blamed in 3 years because they took over something that was such a disaster and they had nothing to work with. And so I do think that's appealing for a lot of people. But I do think because of Trent Baalke, I do think that the Jags dropped in a lot of lists. I think that previous to that, we are seeing the Jags at the top, at number 1 and 2 at almost every single list. And then Balki gets announced that he's staying, and they dropped to 3 and 4. And I think that is the common denominator.
Yeah, certainly in league circles, and we've talked about this all week, people view Trent Baalke as someone who is going to manipulate his way into staying regardless of what happens on the field, right? Even if there's all this losing like we saw this season at 4-13, Trent's going to find a way to blame the coach, which is exactly what we saw happen yet again. The head coach is fired under
6
his
times
tenure.
now.
Right, 3rd time here. I do think if you take a step back, the Jaguars' job is still very enticing, because I do think that Trevor Lawrence is better, or at least we have more to go off of as far as his talent is concerned, than Drake May and Caleb Williams, since they were just rookies this season. And you do have an owner that, if you can separate the Balki factor, you have an owner who's, like we've talked about, he's going to open his checkbook and say, where do I need to spend money? I'll spend it. You have the new facility and the new stadium coming, or at least the renovated stadium, the stadium in the future. It's going to feel like a brand new stadium to us. And there are other pieces, like you said, with a Brian Thomas Jr., a Tank Bigsby, some of the young guys like Britton Strange. So I think the job is a job that most people would want. I don't think that, as we sit here today, I don't think Ben Johnson is going to turn this job down just because of Trent Baalke. I did think that on Monday, but I've come around. I don't think he's going to do that. I think if he wants this job because of all those other factors, then that's when he's going to accept it. Assuming he even accepts the interview request.
We got to start there.
To my knowledge, he will accept the first interview, and that's just good business. Get an idea. He has never interviewed with the Jacksonville Jaguars before. He turned down a Carolina Panthers interview last year, but don't forget, he was in the mix a year earlier when Frank Reich got the job. Mm-hmm. So clearly he was familiar with the David Tepper situation. It is my understanding that Ben Johnson will indeed do the first interview at some point later this week, virtually, because the Detroit Lions have the number 1 overall seed. From there, it's anyone's guess, because we don't know what is going to happen once he sits down at the table, or the virtual table, if you may, with, assumingly, both Shad Khan and Trent Baalke. We don't know what guardrails, what conversations, what expectations he is going to line up that don't line up, that he is going to line out that don't line up with what Baalke and Khan have planned. But at the same time, ask anybody. I don't care what profession you're in. If it's football, if it's media, if it's engineering, if it's medicine, you always take the first interview. If nothing else, it's good practice. And so that's where I don't think it's going to deter this initial list of candidates for the first round interview. It's going to be a question of, A, if they accept the second round interview, and B, how hot and heavy throwing their weight around in said second round interview it becomes.
Yeah, and I think that when we're talking about the Jags, we've made the list of the things that are appealing here and why a head coach would want to come here. And I think that outside of the Balki situation, that most of those still stand true. I do think that you are evaluating a roster as a whole, and that's something that Ben Johnson or any coach is going to look at, what they are coming into, how many holes you've got to fix, what level do you think that your secondary's at, because yes, it's not, we saw Detroit be able to go offensively, but their defense is their defensive improvement is what made them to what they are this season. So he is going to, I think, want to go to a team where he doesn't feel like like he's backtracking from what he was starting to build in Detroit. And I know last year there was a lot of rumors that he said he would interview with the Bears, and the Bears never fired Eberflus, so that obviously didn't end up happening. But even so, there's what he's exactly looking for. I don't know if anybody knows that, honestly. I don't know if he's one of those guys that just wants to say, hey, I want to be able to have X amount of money to spend on my offense. Offensive line's obviously going to be important because that's been such a massive point of success for Detroit. But I also think any head coach is going to come in here and want to know that, yes, Trevor Lawrence, and I think the Trevor Lawrence thing is a big question. And some people are saying, okay, you have Trevor. You've already seen like these glimpses of what he can be if you put an offensive line in front of him and with Brian Thomas Jr. and with the right play calling. But I think some people might say, okay, well, have we seen closer to Trevor's ceiling than maybe we have than some of these young guys, or a potential new quarterback that he gets to kind of mold and have from the start if we're talking about the Raiders or the Saints. But I think that nobody knows what Ben Johnson wants. Nobody knows how much money he wants. Nobody knows what here's my 3 things that I absolutely have to have if I come to any organization or any coach. But I do think that there is a strong appeal to me, the Patriots, the Jags, and the Bears have the strongest appeal of any of those other 6 teams.
If I was Shad and I was operating and conducting this, I would do those first few interviews without Trent Baalke sitting next to me, just because he has made it seem like obviously the head coach is going to report directly to him, kind of like Doug did. And so therefore you're the most important relationship that this head coach is going to form moving forward, because he said at the end of the press conference that if push came to shove and he had to make a change at GM, then he would make a change at GM. So I'm going to go off of his words and trust that philosophy. And so if I was him, I would do those first interviews one-on-one, just me and the head coach, which, by the way, talk about a very busy schedule. If you are Aaron Glenn or Ben Johnson or any of these other coaches.
Hanging out on their laptop.
You're also getting ready for a playoff
you
game.
have playoff games upcoming, and you're spending 3 days doing virtual interviews, all while trying to, navigate your team to a Super Bowl. That's a lot.
I also don't know if Shad Khan knows how to speak without Trent Baalke right now, so I don't think he'd do it without him.
You think it's a what
We've already seen the puppets.
Yeah, the puppets.
The presser was a puppet show.
Pulling the what do they call it? Not the strings, but
it's like the little ventriloquist.
Yeah, the ventriloquist. Yes, exactly. Like, I will make you talk. I won't get into
it. Predictable.
Shad's
Okay,
done it before. Navigated interviews without Trent.
We love.
Was that Urban?
Yeah, that's true. He did it without Trent. Never forget.
That worked well.
Yes, exactly. We love our listeners. We love you, Heeligans, on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures, as well as the MyBookie Digital Studio. Apparently, you're all doing the super sleuthing for us. I apologize. I've been in meetings all morning, but several of you've already got all the dates set for the first initial pool of candidates. Reportedly, Aaron Glenn will interview virtually on Saturday, according to several national reporters. Josina Anderson reporting that Robert Saleh will interview on Tuesday. My assumption is that would be in person, independent of if the Green Bay Packers win on Sunday or not, only because he's a consultant. Yeah. Well done by Mike Vrabel's representation that they structured his contract with the Browns that he would be available to do in-person interviews beginning December 30th. Yeah. I don't know what the state of Robert Saleh's contract is, but my expectation is that would be in person, but I could be completely off. And there's apparently a report out there that Ben Johnson would be on Friday. So the expectation is that both Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn at minimum will have their Zoom interviews this weekend. Candidates like Kellen Moore, Liam Coen, Joe Brady, who have a team that's playing this weekend, they would not be eligible to do that Zoom interview until next week. And then the Saleh, I don't know exactly what the limitations are given his contract.
Which, by the way, before we hit break, I saw a tweet from Rick Ballou right before we got on, speaking of Liam Coen, and he said that he did an interview in Tampa on the J.P. Peterson show this morning, and they told him that Tampa wants Liam Coen so bad that they believe that Todd Bowles could be fired if they lose to Washington this weekend.
That's been a fan-contrived narrative. And it's been around for weeks. It's not.
I mean, I've heard Bowles is not like completely. They're not obsessed with Todd Bowles.
They've won the division.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying I've heard, and not from fans, from like people that I know that work there, that Todd Bowles has been talked about. Of not maybe it's not Todd Bowles of why they're winning. It's Liam Coen is why they're winning. Is what they're saying.
I think that it's more likely that they force Todd Bowles to go out and hire a defensive coordinator. That is my expectation there.
Coming back to the Jaguars, Albert Breer tweeted this out earlier. One thing he would add as far as the Jaguars search, pay attention to who takes the interviews here. I do think he does think that if top guys wind up meeting with the Jaguars, it could indicate some flexibility in the roles of the front office. So it's reports like that keep making me think positively when it comes to these different guys.
He completely
here.
backtracked from a comment he said like 12 hours ago.
Hopium.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
It's not copium,
Yeah.
folks. It's hopium.
Is that a drug? Is that a
Yes,
drug?
it is. It is. It's the one thing we can cling to here in this town.
I love it. All right, well, things are about to get feisty on the other side. We are going to break down who we think should win the NFL MVP. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
What are you doing? You touched that switch and...
Which one? This?
1010.
More power.
10XL.
What's happening, fellas? It's your boy E to the T here, and it's a brand new year, which means a brand new you, especially in the bedroom. So if you're ready to make 2025 the year to level up where it counts, let me make it a little easier for you. Get yourself some Blue Chew. They've got a chewable tablet that has the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, Levitra, and Staxin. That means you're getting top-tier performance, my boy, without leaving the house. Blue Chew comes right to your front door in a discreet package, so your neighbors won't even know what's going on. But you will. No doctor's offices and no pharmacy run. Just licensed medical providers helping you find the right prescription. And guess what? They're made right here in the USA. Oh, and did I mention it's free? Yeah, you heard me. Your first month is free. So what you waiting for? Visit BlueChew.com and get a consultation. And start your year off with confidence to keep things interesting in that bedroom. Get that Blue Chew at BlueChew.com, baby. Let's make this year unforgettable.
Lauren Brooks here. At Hodges Mazda, they are proud of their solid reputation in the Jacksonville community. As your hometown Mazda dealer, their high customer service standards and their huge inventory of new and used cars provide their customers a consistently first-rate car buying experience. Their professional, non-commissioned sales team puts your best interest first without exception. And all new vehicle purchases include the Hodges Mazda Protection Package. Visit them at HodgesMazda.com or stop in today to learn more and discover the Hodges Mazda difference.
You don't have to be a football star to get a signing bonus. The team at Republic Services needs your skills, and they're paying up to $5,000 for you to join the roster. You'll be joining a winner. As an essential business, the Republic Services trucks have not stopped rolling with hourly and weekly pay and better benefits and vacation packages than the rest of the league. Driver trainees, $1,000 sign-on bonus. CDL drivers, $3,000. Diesel mechanics, $5,000 bonus. Join the winning team at Republic Services today. Visit republicservices.com.
Equal opportunity employer.
Value or flavor? Price or taste? Why choose when you can get both with everyday deals at Sonny's? Right now, you can get the pork big deal for $10, the pork and rib combo for $12, and all you can eat ribs for just $19.99. Yep, you heard right. All your favorites are now available all day, every day. And that's why it's always Sonny's here. Sonny's Barbecue. Local pitmasters since '68.
Helmets and Heels.
Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Jimerson Burr is a full-service, Florida-based commercial law firm dedicated to helping businesses manage risk, maximize opportunities, and move their company forward. Jimerson Burr attorneys are business-oriented lawyers, equally comfortable as community leaders, private transaction counselors, or courtroom advocates. If you have a legal issue of any kind affecting your business, contact the firm at 389-0050 or jimersonfirm.com.
Mia here for MyBookie, hoping everyone had a profitable NFL regular season betting weekend with MyBookie. College football playoff marches on with the Final Four. Notre Dame is favored by 1.5 over Penn State on Thursday. The over-under for that game is 47 points. The matchup suggests a relatively close contest. We know anything can happen. We're taking a look at betting the over here on points total after the offensive showing they both had in the quarterfinals. Friday night, Ohio State favored by 6 against Texas. The over-under here is at 53.5 points, indicating expectations for a bit of a higher scoring affair. The Buckeyes' lead in the spread might reflect confidence in their performance and also is likely to be where the betting public is putting their money. That 6-point line, though, that's pretty hefty. We'll look for Texas to cover the spread. Guys, if you haven't yet, sign up now at MyBookie and still get a 50% deposit bonus. That's half your money back on your very first deposit up to $1,000. Promo code 1010XL. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.
The Florida Forum Speaker Series welcomes New York Times bestselling author Deepak Chopra, moderated by Shad Khan, January 15th. For your chance to win tickets, text FORUM to the text line covered by Lifetime Flooring at 641-1010.
If you've played sports or still lead an active life, chances are joint pain is nothing new. This is Dr. George Barry of Barry Orthopedics, and we like to be your option when it comes to taking care of your body and getting back in the game. From shoulders to elbows to hip and knee pain, Barry Orthopedics can diagnose and treat a variety of injuries that are causing you pain. We are Barry Orthopedics and online at barryorthopedics.com. With more than 30 years of experience, our team is here to care for your entire family.
Find out more at barryorthopedics.com. That's BAHRI orthopedics.com.
These are interesting economic times. That's why it's so important to have someone you can count on. That's ITP Partners. Jacksonville folks taking care of our Jacksonville money. Experience? You best believe you want to give your hard-earned money to folks you trust. Jeff Hartman, Chris Bryan, Dan Abel, Reed Wingate, Scott Regner, Janice Cobb, and Reagan Wright have the expertise and knowledge to help clients in their financial lives, focusing on investment management, financial planning, and risk management. ITP Partners. Financial partners for life. Securities offered through American Portfolios Financial Services, Inc. Member FINRA SIPC.
Hi, it's Ben, second generation from Beard's Diamonds. Guys, if you're popping a question soon, looking for an anniversary gift, before you buy anywhere, shop Beard's. From a half carat to 10 carats, Beard's will beat any competitor's price.
In the St. John's Town Center or at beardsdiamonds.com.
AC replacement? If your AC unit is ready to go kaput, then it's time to call Florida Home AC. With over $3,000 in tax credits waiting for you on select systems, take advantage of it. Call 777-4300. Get Florida Home AC to cool you off.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
This is Helmets and Heels.
Kept classy by First Coast Lighting and Fans. Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor.
On 1010XL.
Mia O'Brien, Taylor Dahl, RJ Saunders. I'm Lauren Brooks with you. Taylor's last day before the next 2 days off, and slightly important college football game for you tomorrow night. So we'll get to that.
Have you decided your travel plans? Because I know there was a question mark there.
Yeah, I'm not leaving until Friday now. When the game was announced, it was Thursday. I'm like, I'll just leave Friday morning. It's fine. I have to do exactly what I did at the last game because I'm superstitious. So I'm going to my same friend's house wearing the same shirt, eating the same food. Just to bring any vibes I can to
we didn't know if she was going to call an audible, Lauren, and drive down to Miami.
Well, I was honestly debating it. When the game ended, I immediately was like Googling tickets, and they honestly weren't as bad as I thought. It was like $260 to start. I was expecting way more because the Indiana Notre Dame game, those tickets started at like $1,000. So I was expecting more. They've probably gone up since then, honestly, but
much closer proximity, obviously.
Yeah, that is a driving distance that I could have done. Yeah. So I was debating, but I'm not. I'm going to continue on with what I've done that has worked so far.
I did that in 2017 when the Jags had the 2 playoff away games. And so we went to the same friend's house. I sat in the exact same spot, wore the exact same clothes, ate the exact same food. It worked for the 1 playoff game. And then with the Patriots game, obviously, it was like, oh my gosh, this is like, we're going to the Super. No one, of course, would say that out loud. Like, we're going to the Super Bowl in the third quarter and even the start of the fourth. And then,
I mean, there was like 2 minutes left and they were still like, there's a chance, but then there wasn't.
And then,
and then Tom Brady.
Yeah. Miles Jack still wasn't down, though. Yeah. We'll maintain that. To take listeners, our Heeligans behind the curtain, we've had a text chain going on about the NFL MVP for the last couple weeks, and we all ended up coming up with, I think, someone that we truly believe is going to win or should at least be in contention for the NFL MVP. The one person that we're not going to get into is Saquon Barkley. He's not going to make our top 3, but certainly I feel like there could be someone to make the argument. So if you want to jump in on the text line, sign my lifetime enclosures, 904-641-1010, you can certainly, by the way, I've been adding 904 to everything now that we have the two different area codes.
Yes.
You can jump in with who you think should be the NFL MVP. Certainly Jared Goff is
that's
a guy.
What I was about to say, because he's
really
risen on the odds I was looking at this morning now have Jared Goff as 4th. And so I was like, if somebody wants to make the case, which you probably could, it'd be not too hard to make a case for Jared Goff. So if you do want to make a case for Jared Goff or Saquon Barkley or even maybe a Sam Darnold, go ahead, and we'd love to hear your opinions. We each have our guy.
Sam didn't help
himself. I know.
Case, but it is kind of crazy that if we have, let's say, a Chiefs-Lions Super Bowl, which
or
right
Baker.
now that's the best odds. you're not going to have either Patrick Mahomes or Jared Goff as the MVP, and yet they really could be the Super Bowl MVPs. But certainly for the three of us, it's a quarterback award, as we're going to give our cases for 3 different quarterbacks. Taylor, I'll start with you. You've got none other than the backless jacket wearing Joe Burrow.
Yes. And so I know at this point Joe Burrow is not going to win. I do think that if freaking Chiefs, if they would have just won.
Chiefs knew.
I know. It's so, what cowards. But
I consider it smart.
But if they would have won, obviously, the Bengals would have been in the postseason. And I do think that would have added even another level to the Joe Burrow case for me. But I have many things that I want to say about Joe Burrow. He's probably my favorite quarterback in the league, honestly. I love Joe. I love his playing style. I love the way that he just threw all of this season, and that's what more so I'm going to get into is kind of everything surrounding.
The Dolphins to beat the Jets, and the Jets beat the Dolphins.
No, they needed the Jets to win. They needed Miami to lose or tie.
Okay.
Yeah. Believe me, I was following this along very closely. But anyway, so Joe Burrow, obviously, a conversation we had 5 weeks in. They were 1-4. The Bengals were 1-4 to start this season, and we were like, why do the Bengals always get looked at as this team that it's okay if you start that way? And exactly why is because of Joe Burrow. The things that he's able to do, even when he doesn't have help around him. So they ended up winning their final 5 games to finish 9-8 on the season. We know they didn't end up making it. But Joe Burrow leads the league in passing yards. He did throw a ton because they were down because of the defense. So he did have to throw a lot more. So that does factor into it a little bit. But he still led the league in yards. He's completing 70.6% of his passes. That's the highest comparable to both Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. The most touchdowns in the NFL with 43. He just threw 9 picks. And again, a lot of times he was in these games having to drive down the field and try and win these games because the defense just let everybody score and do whatever they want. So some of those picks did come in moments where he was trying to just make miracles happen at the end of games and keep them in it. This is all while also being sacked 48 times, which is the 5th most in the league. The Bengals had the 3rd fewest rushing yards in the league, by the way. If you want to talk about the rushing game affecting our offense here, the Bengals offense was massively affected by their lack of run game. And some of that is quarterback. Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen can both use their legs more than Joe Burrow. So that does factor in. But I'm sure they were missing Joe Mixon this year. And so they were surrounded by teams. If you're talking about that 3rd fewest, the 3 teams around them were the Raiders, the Jets, and the Browns. So those are 3 teams terrible this year. And the Bengals had the same amount of rushing attempts, rushing yards per game, all of those sort of things. We also want to talk about Zach Taylor. Zach Taylor is their obviously head coach, play caller, who is considered on the hot seat. And they said they're keeping him, but he was somebody who all season, and I'm sure Bengals fans are not very happy that they kept Zach Taylor, while both Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson have play callers who are being considered for head coaching jobs. And so I think there's a lot of factors of him finding success even when things weren't going good. So a few numbers. The help from the defense and the offensive line. The Bills' defense, when it comes to defensive points allowed, the Bills have the 10th best, allowing 331 points this season. The Ravens have 20th. We talked about the Ravens' defense not being very good this year. It does look like down the stretch they were getting a little bit better, but they were still 20th, allowing 351, so just 20 more points than the Bills. While the Bengals were 31st, allowing 417 points this season. Only one team is worse than them. Pass block win rate, another thing. Obviously, a quarterback can benefit from a good line. That's another conversation we've had here a lot. The Bills have the 6th best pass block win rate. The Ravens have the 2nd best. The Bengals, the 30th, hence why he's been sacked 48 times. So to me, I just feel like Joe Burrow, despite all of these things, despite having a line who can't protect him, a team that cannot run the ball, a play caller who's on the hot seat, a defense that can't stop anybody, was still able to have the most passing yards, one of the highest completion percentage, the most touchdowns, and bring their team back into it at the end of the season despite all other factors.
She makes a good case.
Makes a very good case. That's why my candidate for MVP is kind of in the same boat of that last point you made, Taylor, which is playing in the most difficult division in football this year. With all due respect to some of the others that were tightly contested races down the stretch, the reason that the Bengals won 8 games was because of Joe Burrow in the AFC North, perhaps the best division in all of football. And then you look at the stats. And while the MVP shouldn't just go to the player who has the greatest stats, when that player elevates his offense to a different level, than it previously performed at when he previously won the MVP award, and he is setting career records. Therefore, for me, if you continue to raise the bar and you are the reigning MVP, you should continue to be the MVP, and that is why my vote is for Lamar Jackson. He leads the NFL in total yards with 5,087, a completion percentage of 66.7%, 45 total touchdowns to just 9 turnovers. Yes, the Ravens are 12-5. That includes a loss to the Las Vegas Raiders somehow. Yes, he has Derrick Henry in the backfield with him. But for me, I just come away from every Lamar Jackson performance and I say he does things that no one else on a football field in the National Football League or on planet Earth can do. And I think that, unfortunately, the knock on him continues to be, well, until you win the big one, can we really justify this outside of the crazy numbers that led to his 2 previous MVP awards? I think that if there was ever a year, it's this year. I think the knock on Lamar Jackson will also be that he has a potential other MVP candidate in his backfield in Derrick Henry, and that in turn is the only reason this is a contest right now. And while I also agree that Joe Burrow needs to be in the conversation and this should really be a 3-horse race like we're discussing here, it's a 2-horse race right now because it's all about, can you win the big one? Can you go to the postseason? Although I think the candidate that you're supporting, Lauren, that's the same question he's facing. And so you could argue he and Lamar are on even playing field. And at that point in time, you go with the stats over the resume.
But the MVP, and that's a good case too because Lamar is insane. But the MVP, as we know it, is the most valuable player. And so they are always going to pick, the reason Joe Burrow's not in the mix is because they're always going to pick the quarterback that's on a team that's making the postseason, but not necessarily going to the Super Bowl because the award is announced before the Super Bowl, obviously. So the voting is done before that. But yeah, like you mentioned, I'm going to take Josh Allen and here are a few different reasons why. The Bills' offense averages 3 points per drive. That is among the top 5 in NFL history. That is without the benefit of a 1,000-yard receiver or a 1,000-yard rusher. And so that, to me, is the biggest point of the stats, as we always like to dig into. What does Joe Burrow have? Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. What does Lamar Jackson have? Derrick Henry, and then certainly some offensive weapons as well, like a Mark Andrews and Zay Flowers. Josh Allen, as we talked about all offseason, lost some of his best weapons and still is able to do these incredible things. The Bills have just 2 Pro Bowl starters this year. The Ravens have 9. So again, when you compare that, it's like, man, Josh Allen is killing it.
There's 20, I guess for including specialists, 25 starting.
Yeah, 9 are from
9
Baltimore.
of them are from Baltimore. Oh my
He's
God.
the first quarterback in NFL history to throw for over 40 touchdowns, commit fewer than 8 turnovers, and take fewer than 20 sacks in a season. Now, that's also a testament to his offensive line. Hopefully, he bought them really nice things like most quarterbacks do as far as the end of the season. Lamar Jackson's turnover numbers are higher, and his ball security has been a talking point all season long.
It's a 1 turnover difference. Continue.
But yeah, we're playing off stats, right?
Yeah.
And then finally, the Bills defeated this year's number 1 seeds, both Kansas City in the AFC and Detroit in the NFC. So when you look at the body of work minus the incredible weapons that the other guys have, to me, it's going to go to Josh Allen. And what's crazy is I do think Lamar is worthy. Joe Burrow is certainly worthy. It's just the team didn't help him. Lamar's worthy, but they're almost going to look at it and say, because he's won twice, we're going to mix it up and we're going to give it to someone else.
Yeah, I feel like this is what I think also, because I think the NFL has this weird in between with the MVP. Like they announce it before the playoffs are done, but it's not for the season. Like if you're going to do it in the time period they do, then you need a season MVP and then your playoff MVP, not this weird like in between limbo. Because if that's the case, then Joe Burrow should have won because he was the best quarterback in the NFL throughout the season. He didn't make the playoff because of other factors, and then give us the playoff one because yes, that is some of Lamar's things. Is Lamar has like 120 passer rate or QBR rating, whatever it is, in season, and then in the playoffs has like a 70. And so that is the that's why people have criticized Lamar once he gets into the playoffs. But in season, he's incredible, and there's no denying that, especially this year. One of the things with Josh Allen that stands out, I think he has like 12 rushing touchdowns, and you would think Lamar would have more because of what Lamar does on his feet, but Josh Allen and what he is able to do in the short game, once you get into the red zone with his legs, I think that does factor into the way they were able to score this year too. And because that line, they were able to run the ball way better when it came to their short yardage and red zone.
I also do want to bring into the conversation the first two candidates for MVP we discussed play in the best division in football. The AFC East.
Yeah,
By the way,
Miami
do
was
you think-
massively disappointing.
How do we-
Jets
Do you think the AFC North is better than the NFC North?
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
I mean, they're both really good. I'm not,
Yeah,
it's
and then they
splitting a little bit of hairs,
right. I
but-
mean, I would only say the AFC North because the Cleveland Browns were a playoff team last year, and if not for just inadequate quarterback play, they're probably in the conversation. I think you could still make the argument that their defense is a top 15 unit, and that's performing at their floor.
Yeah.
So that's the only reason that I would look at it. But I agree, the NFC North is also in the
better.
conversation. But no,
Yeah.
I just look at
Lamar 4 rushing touchdowns this season.
Yeah,
I look
but
at
Josh has like 12.
12.
Yeah.
I just look at the division that the Bills are playing in and the teams they face twice a year comparatively to the teams that the other two quarterbacks face twice a year. And how many times the Bills technically faced Tua Tagovailoa in the first meeting between the Dolphins and the Bills, and then he got hurt at in the second half, or late in the second quarter. The Jets, the Patriots with the number 4 overall pick.
Yeah.
I mean,
Definitely an
you gotta
easier
play the
6
teams
games,
on-
but you did,
yeah.
but they did prove that they could beat the two best also.
Right.
So
And, yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of people on the text line with Saquon, which I completely get. Saquon and what he's been able to do in Philly and how he's upped that offense. But I think if you put Saquon, then you automatically have to put Derrick Henry, because when you look at those numbers, Saquon has 345 rushes for 2,005 yards and 13 touchdowns. Derrick Henry has 325, so 20 less rushes for 1,921 yards and 16 touchdowns. So if you're putting Saquon in that, then you've got to also put Derrick Henry in that.
And it would have been interesting, and we're going to get to our picks next, and this leads into it. Would have been interesting to see what the Eagles would have been like without Jalen Hurts if he had had the concussion protocol, and if the Eagles had still been able to win over the Packers in the wild card of the playoff game this weekend. But it looks like Jalen Hurts is going to be there, so we're not even going to have
Ian
that.
Book, Notre Dame legend Ian Book.
Right.
Let's close on a bit of news regarding this conversation.
Okay.
The NFLPA's All-Pro team, their third annual, came out. Lamar Jackson voted as the quarterback on the All-Pro team. Ross Madison and Logan Cook also getting love. They are
nice.
the All-Pro
Woo,
first
special
team long snapper and punter.
There we go. Our picks are next. You're listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Epic offers. Factory direct pricing on AC equipment from Epic Cool Heating and Air. Call 904-859-EPIC. Epic discounts for military, police, first responders, and 1010 listeners like you. Epic Cool Heating and Air.
With 50 years of fabrication expertise and towing products, the family at Cannons of Jacksonville can repair or install precisely what you need to tow with confidence. Visit cannonsofjacks.com, where quality and customer satisfaction collide.
Mia here. Why Arlington Toyota? I'm glad you asked. How about a huge selection of new vehicles in stock on the ground in one location? And every new Toyota purchase comes with Arlington's lifetime warranty. That's unlimited time and miles. 60-day exchange program. You heard that right. You get 60 days to decide if you love your new Toyota purchase or just come on back within 60 days and exchange it for one that you do. Worried about financing? Arlington is here to help with the Arlington Credit Helper. You even get a complimentary car wash with every service to keep your new Toyota looking like it just came off the lot. So if you've ever wondered why Arlington, now you know. Huge selection in stock, one location. Arlington's lifetime warranty, 60-day exchange program, the Arlington Credit Helper. Oh, and did I mention, Arlington has an amazing 4.7-star rating and over 19,000 Google reviews. Don't wait. Shop in person, 10939 Atlantic Boulevard, or online anytime at arlingtontoyota.com.
Coke, Florida congratulates the Jacksonville Jaguars on a great 2024 season. As the local Coca-Cola bottler celebrating 10 years of business, Coke, Florida is proud to be the Jags' official beverage partner. From the season kickoff to the final touchdown, Coke, Florida's 5,000 associates and passionate fans have cheered on the Jags all season long. Coke, Florida and the Jags tackle game day with great taste.
Mia here for Dreamfinders Homes. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now is your chance to lock down the rate and get in the game. You heard me right, a 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
to Helmets and Heels Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
D1 Training East Jacksonville invites you to their mega NFL football camp at the Bowl School February 1st from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Ages 7 through 16. Get hands-on coaching from former NFL players at every single station. The coaches lineup put together by Connor and Sam at D1 is proudly sponsored by Tim Tebow. To sign up, call 904-901-6470.
Hey folks, Mike Dempsey here for Pella Windows and Doors. Look, it's kind of cooling down right now. I love opening my windows up this time of year. If you're looking to upgrade your windows in your home, I want you to visit the Pella showroom on Phillips Highway. Ask about their latest hurricane and impact-resistant windows and doors, rated #1 by Consumer Reports in all 3 main window categories. You want quality, style, and protection? Visit PellaJacks.com and the showroom on Phillips Highway just north of Bay Meadows. That's Pella Windows and Doors online at PellaJacks.com.
This date in sports history is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
January 8th, 1986, San Francisco Giants first baseman Willie McCovey is the 16th elected to the MLB Hall of Fame in his first year of eligibility.
The smarter way to clean your floors. It's time to make the swap. Swiffer Power Mop.
Introducing the new Swiffer Power Mop, the all-in-one tool that gives you a mop and bucket clean in half the time. The solution's built right in, so no heavy bucket, and the pad has hundreds of scrubbing strips to get deep into grout. Don't mop harder, mop smarter.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
Hey, Icken here for Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code JAX, J-A-X, to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code JAX to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, man. Run your game.
Value or flavor? Price or taste? Why choose when you can get both with everyday deals at Sunny's? Right now, you can get the pork big deal for $10, the pork and rib combo for $12, and all you can eat ribs for just $19.99. Yep, you heard right. All your favorites are now available all day, every day. And that's why it's always Sunny's here. Sunny's Barbecue. Local pitmasters since '68.
When you're injured, you probably have more questions than answers, and all you really want is to feel better. This is Joe C., and I certainly can identify. Well, thanks to Rebound Rehab, I bounced back from a serious case of ankle tendonitis to feel pain-free. And they can do the same for you. 8 locations across the First Coast and a team of physical therapists ready to help. From laser and radio pressure wave therapy to aquatic and massage therapy, they can offer real solutions to help you rebound. Log on, reboundrehab.com, and start your path back to pain-free life.
Have a group trip or company function soon? Mark Watson here with Hardball Creative. Get busy ordering the t-shirts and other swag you'll need. It's easy with Hardball.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all.
This is Dr. Steve Crenshaw, Assistant Team Physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jaguars brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
Hall of Fame left tackle Tony Baselli chimed in on what he thinks is the most important step of the new hire process when it comes into bringing the next coaching staff into the building to make sure they mesh well with the personnel staff. Here's his opinion for Monday's episode of the Jaguars Happy Hour Show.
And I think it's more about getting the right people in the right roles and defining those roles and understanding what is the identity of the organization. So if I was going to be critical of the Trent Baalke, Doug Peterson tenure, what is our identity? Who are we trying to be? What's the culture of the building and the organization? And I don't think that was established.
I'm Max Fink with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars update.
XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it. Helmets and Heels is switched on by
First Coast Lighting and Fans.
Upscale lighting, fans, and home decor on 1010XL.
RJ, are you telling me our next guest is Morgan Wallen?
I would die.
Did you just
Surprise.
break some
What a
news
get.
to me, to
Good
Taylor,
die.
to Mia. Our next guest is Morgan Wallen, everybody. Listen up. Just kidding.
Let's talk about the Vols loss last night.
That's right. Let's get into that Gator basketball 30-point win in Gainesville. I love it. We will talk to Mike Silver of The Athletic coming up at 1 o'clock. But before we do that, we will make our picks. The standings look like this with a few weeks left to go. Taylor has 52 total points. Mia has 5 more than that with 57 total points. And I have 5 more than that, 62 total points. I know that last week was not so good for me, and so I had to mix things up this week. And now I'm going to be much more heavily involved because I think the last 2 weeks I've not been here for picks, so that's really thrown me for a loop.
Well, the 1 week you weren't here though, this was like a couple months ago or whatever. You got you got all of them right the week you weren't here.
That worked, but most recently not so much. I do think that our last week's picks were so difficult because it was the 4 college football playoff games, and then the 2 NFL games were tricky because you had the Vikings-Lions. I thought the Vikings would play a lot better than they did. And then Colts-Jaguars. I think most people thought the Colts were going to win fairly easily and cover that 5-point spread.
The Jags were good against the spread, especially in the second half of the season.
We all picked them. I did, and I also completely flopped the 2. My expectations of the 2 games that would be closer. I thought the Boise State game was going to be closer, and the Arizona State-Texas game was not, and it was completely opposite of what I thought.
Yeah, I don't think many people saw. Obviously, Texas was a 12.5-point favorite.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody saw that game going to overtime.
Yeah.
And then the Ohio State-Oregon game, I thought would be an excellent game. That wasn't close. And Notre Dame-Georgia, I thought that would also be a great game. That wasn't that close either. All right, we will kick things off with Taylor's Notre Dame. Notre Dame is a 1-point favorite over Penn State. The line opened at 2, so Vegas has shifted a little bit of money towards Penn State. In the Orange Bowl, Taylor, who you got?
Yeah, I have to continue on with my optimism and say Notre Dame. I do, and I'm going to say the same reasonings as I did last week. I think that this defense is really good, even with guys dropping out in that game who all seem like they will be playing when it comes to Howard Cross, who obviously is already replacing some people. Xavier Watts is good. So all of the players that I was a little concerned about in that game seem to be all right. Jeremiah Love looks like he'll be ready to go. They will kind of take it, monitor it a little bit how much he does actually play, but you could see Jadarian Price come in and still be able to run the ball, obviously with Riley Leonard, what he can do with his legs. So I'm going to continue on with that and hope that the good vibes bring another victory.
Mia, who you got?
I will also go with Notre Dame. I don't know who the hooligan is, who is the Penn State fan out there, but I need you to cover your ears. At some point or another, the other shoe is going to drop. The fraudulent James Franklin will return. Drew Aller is certainly an NFL prospect. I wish nothing but the best to him. But much like some of the other quarterbacks we were outlining in the National Football League, until he wins the big one, which I know for you guys at Penn State, you feel like the last 2 have been big ones, and they certainly have, to be clear. But until he wins the big one, I will continue to pick against the Nittany Lions. I know you're grinding your gears. You're hitting up the text line at 904-641-1010. Come at me, bro. I'm riding with Marcus Freeman and his elite hairline.
You can listen, then the person can listen to me. I do think that Drew Aller and Tyler Warren are a duo that are incredibly difficult to stop, and I understand that in the past Penn State has not been able to win big games, but so far this season they've showed us.
Neither has Notre Dame in the past either.
Well, but Notre Dame
not
certainly,
with Marcus Freeman.
It is the ultimate fraud off, by the way. This is the ultimate loser leaves town of 2 teams that have been questioned about can they actually win the big one.
Yeah, the difference is that Brian Kelly was the reason for the big one for a lot of years.
Right. And I do think both coaches understand each other's strengths and weaknesses because they've both realized that this is the biggest opportunity that either of them has had. And look, James Franklin, yes, he's the type of guy that I feel like he gets under people's skin. Mm-hmm. He's done that ever since he was a coach at Vanderbilt, and everybody loves Marcus Freeman. But something tells me that James Franklin and Penn State, they're going to have just one extra play. And so I think it's a great game. I think it goes down to the field goal and Penn State wins. All right, Ohio State, Texas. I think it's no surprise who I'm taking in this game. I'm going to pick with my head, not my heart. Or sorry, my heart, not my head. I'm going to take Texas. Ohio State looks like a freaking juggernaut. But somehow, some way, I think Texas keeps it closer than 6. Ohio State is favored by 6 against the Longhorns in the Cotton Bowl. Mia?
I will also go with the Longhorns, despite the fact that I've had Quinn Ewers and Steve Sarkisian on fraud alert as well. But Ryan Day, the other shoe will drop at some point or another. That offense that was clicking on all cylinders in the Rose Bowl, I think we will see it again. So therefore, maybe the defense takes a step back and we see a Texas team that looks rejuvenated after a shootout that, if not for 4th and 10 in overtime, and the decision to just full out blitz by Arizona State, I think we're talking about a very different ball game because there will be a different team in this Final Four. So give me the Longhorns to cover that 6-point number. It's just too massive.
All right, so far, if we're right, I have Penn State, Texas as the national championship. Taylor you haven't given your second team.
I have Ohio State winning, to be clear. I just have Texas covering the spread.
Okay, so you have Notre Dame versus Ohio State in the national championship.
Correct.
And Taylor's other team to play in the national championship is?
Yeah, I'm going to say Ohio State. I think that Jeremiah Smith and Travion Henderson are going to be way too much for them to handle in this game. You saw what they were able to do against Oregon. I also am somebody who, since June, has not been a big fan of Quinn Ewers. I don't have confidence in him whatsoever. I see him turning the ball over at least once. I'm thinking 2 times this game. So, yeah, give me the Buckeyes.
I do think that we see Arch Manning in this game, and that is going
I
to
hope. I've been
present
waiting
some
to see Arch Manning, but I feel like every time I say that, then we don't.
True. All right, let's get into the NFL. We've got the Chargers 3-point favorites on the road at the Texans. I have not seen much from the Houston Texans to think that they're going to win this game by any means, so I'm going to take the Chargers and the 3 points. Taylor.
Yeah, give me the fighting Jim Harbaughs. I feel like he just keeps he built this team, and when we were talking about identity yesterday, he's turned this Chargers team into a very tough out because of what he's done on both sides of the ball when it comes to that aggressive play, when it comes to, we wanted to say attack style, but they attack on both sides of the ball, and I think that is going to just completely wear down the Houston Texans.
By the way, did you see that Herbert was asked about Harbaugh and
Taylor sent it in the multimedia group
all the different storylines throughout the season and the stories that Harbaugh's told, and Herbert said the craziest one is the fact that Jim Harbaugh believes and says that he remembers the day he was born. He remembers looking out the window the day he was born. Mia?
He's so wild.
He's the prime example of you can't write somebody off who's a little quirky because, man alive, if he isn't one of the best coaches of our generation, even if, yeah, I will make it a clean sweep. I am also going with the fighting Harbaughs because there is belief there, there's buy-in, and I don't know if you can say the same on both sides of the ball in H-Town.
All right, we got to go quickly because we have Mike Silver on the other side. Broncos at the Bills. Bills are favored by 9. Taylor.
I think Bills win, but Broncos cover this one, in my opinion.
All right, I agree. I do think that the Bills win, but I think the Broncos cover as well. Mia?
That means I got to go Oppo Taco, so I will take the Bills just for the sake of a pickup.
I mean, 9 points in an NFL playoff game is a lot. It's not the biggest spread of the weekend, wildcard weekend, but it is a lot. And I just took Josh Allen as the MVP, but I still think that Sean Payton can keep that game close. All right, then you've got the Packers traveling to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. I mentioned in the last segment it seems like Jalen Hurts will play. The Eagles are 4.5-point favorites. Mia?
I will take the Eagles in large part due to the injury situation in Green Bay. Additionally, I think there's more belief in Nick Sirianni up there in the city of brotherly love than people, including myself, give him credit for.
I've got the Eagles as well. Saquon Barkley could have been an MVP. Taylor?
Yeah, I'm actually going to go the Eagles. Also, I just think that Jordan Love has one of the worst quarterback ratings under pressure, and the Eagles are going to pressure him all day long, and I think that's going to factor into this.
All right, and then finally, Commanders traveling to Tampa Bay. The Bucs are 3-point favorites at home with Baker Mayfield and crew. Y'all know I'm going to go with the Commanders because I wanted them and thought they would be in the postseason all season long, and Jaden Daniels is incredible. I'm going to guess, Taylor, you're going Bucs?
Yeah, Baker's going to bake. He's him and Jared Goff have the most touchdown passes in the last 2 seasons, and I think that he has just proved that he can be one of these top quarterbacks and hang with anybody in the league.
More
and Mia,
importantly,
you're also going Bucs?
Yes, because Liam is going to cook. Liam will cook. Liam will cook.
Baker's baking. Liam's cooking.
And if nothing else, that'll cover up all the issues they have on the defensive side of the ball, keep them in contention, and keep Todd Bowles employed in Tampa Town for another year.
All right, we will check in with Mike Silver of The Athletic. On the other side, you are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Your radio highlight reel.
Caught for the touchdown.
1010XL, home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL.
Are you looking for a place to outfit your truck or van? It's Catlin Truck Accessories. For 105 years and 4 generations, Catlin is the name you can count on. This is Keith Catlin, and we know trucks and vans too. From Lear toppers, ladder racks, van shelving, strobe lighting, rolling lot bed covers, and everything in between. If you want quality products and great customer service, there's only one name. It's Catlin.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
For 105 years, you can count on Catlin.
Everybody, Mike Dempsey here. Listen, I'm all about a sure thing. I like putting my money down knowing I'm going to win, and that's exactly what Awaken 180 was for me, a sure bet. I dropped 25 pounds in just over a month, and let me tell you, the results speak for themselves. Now, imagine this. You start Awaken 180 now, and when February rolls around, you've already lost 20 pounds. Or maybe you're like Matt Hayes, down 40 pounds by March, and don't even get me started on Hacker. Dude's lost over 100 pounds. Life-changing results, and I got to see it firsthand. Awaken 180 isn't some gimmick. You eat, you're never starving, and the weight just comes off fast. No guesswork, no crash diets, just a plan that works, and the best part, it's built to last thanks to free support for life. Don't wait for another failed resolution. Start your new year with the program that is the sure bet. Visit awaken180weightloss.com or call 844-346-1800. Make sure this year is the year you win big with Awaken 180.
Mia here for MyBookie. Hope everyone had a profitable NFL regular season finale betting weekend with MyBookie. The college football playoff marches on with the Final Four. Notre Dame favored by a point now, as you just heard, over Penn State Thursday night. The total for this game at MyBookie is 47 points. The matchup suggests a relatively close contest, but we know anything can happen. We are looking at betting the over on the point total. Friday night, Ohio State favored by 6 against Texas. The total here, 53.5. Obviously, after what we saw in the Rose Bowl, people expect Ohio State's offense to light it up. But that 6-point number, you just heard me say it, that is a massive number. And so I do expect the Longhorns to cover the spread. Take Texas with the points. If you haven't yet, sign up at MyBookie and get a 50% deposit bonus. That's half your money back on your very first deposit, up to $1,000. Promo code 1010XL for a 50% deposit bonus. Make yourself some cash with MyBookie.
We don't have too many cold nights on the First Coast, but when the temperature drops, you want to hit the heat button and warm up. That's where Florida Home comes in. They're the AC experts in Jacksonville, and the importance of keeping your heating system in good working order is really important. If it stops working when it gets cooler, Florida Home will leap into action and provide you with the best solution. Heater and heat pump repair service and new system installation. They do it all. Just call Florida Home AC at 777-4300, the official heating and AC partner of the Jaguars.
Homeowners, listen up. Did you know that 9 out of 10 borrowers get a better deal by calling Loan Pronto? Hey, it's Prosser here, and the Fed has dropped the rates again. The election is over, and Loan Pronto has APRs in the low 5s for refis, debt consolidation, and purchase loans. If your current mortgage rate is over 6%, or if you're in the process with another lender, don't settle. Call Loan Pronto now for a second opinion. Lock a lower rate today and close in as little as 2 weeks, often with no appraisal. And if you act now, you won't make your first payment till February. This 5-minute call saves homeowners an average of $5,000, lower rates and lower fees. So get your Loan Pronto rate quote instantly with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees like those other guys. It's Loan Pronto. Call them at 904-999-1508, or you can visit loanpronto.com. That's Loan Pronto at 904-999-1508, loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, on approved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
Helmets and heels.
Hey gang, Prosser here, and I've been telling you for years about Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. Lifetime Enclosures right now running an awesome special for January. Get a complete enclosure done, get free flooring. Now that can save you some money. If you just need flooring, Lifetime Flooring also running a buy one room, get the second room free. Once again, only for January. Now offering flooring coating as well. So give them a call. I know I did. Visit their showrooms just off Phillips Highway. Proud partners of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
The flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
This is head coach Matthew Driscoll from the UNF men's basketball team. When our players suffer an orthopedic injury, Southeast Orthopedic Specialists gets our players back on the court pain-free.
We appreciate the endorsements from our high school and college coaches. This is Dr. Kevin Murphy. Next time you need orthopedic care, you can rely on our team at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
SportsForecaster.com has all the data you need to project tomorrow's winners. Register for free and track the performance of all your favorite players and teams, including all your fantasy team picks and prospects. Sports Forecaster has the most detailed player profiles on the web, precise depth charts, every transaction, every injury, every news update. No ranting or raving, no preening or barstool bluster. At SportsForecaster.com, you get the timely info you need for every game. SportsForecaster.com. Sign up for free today.
This is Molly McDonald with your 1010XL Southeast Orthopedic Specialist local sports update. Brought to you by First Coast Honda Dealers. The North Florida Ospreys have struggled to start off conference play, going 0-2 in their conference opening weekend at home. The pressure is on to get things turned around. Forward Liam Murphy spoke to the media on about getting back to being more intentional in games like they were at the beginning of the year.
But just conference play is a completely different time. I use the word we have to be intentional, and I think that's really important going forward. And I think we just at times we get lost in what's important and what it's going to take to win. And I think earlier on in the year and the successes that we've had, I think that we were more intentional, we were more focused on the key few things.
The Ospreys take the road to play Eastern Kentucky tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Back in the Igloo tonight here in Jacksonville, the Jacksonville Icemen take home ice as they host the Greenville Swamp Rabbits. Puck drop at 7 p.m. It's 54 degrees at 1 o'clock. Time and temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line. Hello. We can wiggle it.
1 o'clock hour is here on a Wednesday edition of Helmets and Heels. And folks, as I just tweeted out, it is the moment that so many of us have been waiting for on this program this week. Mike Silver of The Athletic, longtime NFL columnist, joins us now on the Garber Auto Mall hotline. First things first, Michael, we just did want to check in, knowing you have family in Southern California, obviously very concerned about the wildfires there. Hope you and your loved ones are doing okay.
I totally appreciate that. Yeah, it's a brutal situation. Everyone's okay on my end. Fortunately for now, I have a friend who fled on foot with his family and walked 4 harrowing miles. My high school burned down, and I got a lot of people dealing with a lot of stuff. But I appreciate that. We're monitoring and hoping it doesn't get worse.
Yeah, the Palisades and Topanga Canyon area are an area that I treasure from the semester I spent out in Los Angeles. And so obviously hearts are with everybody out there and hope everyone is staying safe in Southern California as those wildfires do continue to rage. Before we get to the Jaguars and a little trip down memory lane, since, of course, you are a longtime media member up in San Francisco, I did want to ask about your travel to the Los Angeles Rams playoff game that is expected to still occur in Southern California in Los Angeles this weekend. What's the very latest that you're hearing as far as that game going on as planned against the Minnesota Vikings?
It's a great question. I've been so preoccupied with family and friends that I haven't gotten journalistic and figured that out. There is precedent for games being moved because of fire or other things. So certainly I believe if they wanted to move it or felt compelled to move it, they could get it done likely in Arizona or Vegas or Northern California. But I also remember, maybe about 7 years ago, there were some horrible fires down close to the Rams training facility that impacted a lot of the players and coaches. And that was brutal too. And they did play through. So, I think it's just one of those things where we're waiting the situation out, knowing the NFL, they'll have a contingency plan, but they'll try really hard not to move it if they can avoid it.
And now comes the fun part. Hopefully we can give you a little bit of brevity, or at the very least that aforementioned trip down memory lane. I'm going to back up from the microphone, Michael, and I don't know.
I don't know what's going on with our reception. It's I know we're far away from each other, but I would I would hope the cell reception would hook us up. What's up?
Okay, are you ready? I'm gonna back up from the microphone and I'm gonna give you the floor. When I say Trent Baalke, you say
Survivor. Look, I this is not personal. I mean, I've seen Trent Baalke be in a lot of situations that seem dysfunctional, and the Jim Harbaugh situation blew up with the 49ers. Trent survived, to hire 2 more coaches before he was finally gone, and then he resurfaced in Jacksonville. I believe that as soon as Dave Caldwell was out, Trent Baalke was like parking in his space the next day, from what I heard, and moved right on in. And so, look, it's a performance business. It's a performance league, and all of us, when we don't perform, tend to pay consequences. Some people more quickly than others, especially if you happen to be black in the NFL, but that's a whole other subject. But, I would look at the Jaguar situation, and, they're going to find someone to be the coach. It's not like, oh, my God, no one would ever coach there. There's only 32 of them, and coaches believe they can turn things around. But, people who have been saying for weeks and weeks, this will be the best job. It's not the best job if you are 100% committed to keeping Trent Baalke. And again, some of that's not even personal. Some coaches with options, like a Ben Johnson, are interested in – he doesn't necessarily want to handpick a general manager, but he wants to have the opportunity to kind of bond with one. And I think if you walk into the Jaguars, you're looking at, well, this guy's consolidating power, and he's out for his power, and I'm just here to coach the team and pay the price if they don't win enough.
Mike, let's go a little bit more into that time in San Francisco, because I think a lot of people out here were a little bit more disconnected. Those first 3 seasons in San Francisco included a Executive of the Year award for him, and then the final 3 seasons he won 8, 5, and 2 games when he was the general manager in San Francisco. So tell us a little bit about what happened those first 3 years compared to how it kind of just fell apart the final 3.
Well, Jim Harbaugh came in and did something transformative, and that was in a lockout season, so he didn't even have an off season. They had not been a good team, and they immediately got to, played for the Super Bowl in the NFC Championship game and lost in overtime. So they were right there right away. There was also a quarterback change during that year, you'll remember. Alex Smith had just played one of his best games ever, got a concussion. They hosted a Thursday night game 4 days later. Oh, that was the next year. I'm sorry. Anyway, so basically that was good, and they had a good thing going. Jim Harbaugh is not the easiest guy to get along with or work with, and that's been kind of the pattern everywhere he's gone. And so you can't just say, oh, that's all Trent Baalke's fault. But I would also say that Scott McCloughan, who'd been their general manager when Trent was his assistant, was an incredible talent evaluator who had picked a lot of those players that formed the nucleus of that team, which then went on to go to the Super Bowl the next year and then play a very, very close NFC Championship game the third year with the Seahawks. Look, I think if you looked at that situation and said we had to choose Jim Harbaugh or Trent Baalke on paper, you'd say we want Jim Harbaugh. He's the guy who transformed it. But they went the other way. Now, that's not just something I would blame on Trent Baalke. I think Jim Harbaugh was so abrasive and did not manage the relationship with his owner very well that once they did start to tail off that 4th year, that precipitated his exit. But you're right. After Jim left, they hired Jim Tomsula, who was a defensive line coach with no coordinator experience, no head coaching experience. The owner, Jed York, compared him to Steve Kerr, which to bring it back to the L.A. situation, I grew up with Steve in L.A., so I took that one a little personally. It was kind of a stretch, and Jim Tomsula turned out to not be good. And then they went and got Chip Kelly, and that was also not good, and that was eventually the end of Trent Baalke.
Chatting with Mike Silver of The Athletic, at Mike Silver on X. Why do you think Trent Baalke is able to survive so often?
It's a great question. I should probably come do an investigative story on it. I kind of like it.
Let's go.
No, I mean, God, you guys ask really good questions. I'm kind of bummed that the cell phone reception is so bad, and I'm like going in and out because, why is he surviving? I don't know. I mean, I know Shad, I know Tony. That like there's smart people in that building who want to win. Shad Khan is asking a lot of his fans right now. So let me just take a step back. You guys are close to it, but this is how I see it. He's basically asking his fans, okay, I go to London at least 2 games a year, so I'm taking a couple of games away. You're going to fund my entire stadium renovation thing at the threat of leaving. Okay, cool. So you're going to pay for my stadium, and I'm going to, continue to have the London thing. And I'm going to say before a season that I have my best team ever, and then have it go badly. And then I'm going to fire my coach who's won a Super Bowl, but I'm keeping the GM just so I can make sure that the best candidates are going to pause when they think about taking my job, and I'll hire accordingly. That's a lot to ask of a fan base, and I admire so much of what the Khans do. I thought the neck brace wrestling stunt during the draft was like, I texted Tony. I'm like, that's one of my favorite things ever. It was brilliant. I get it. I'm not sitting here saying they don't know what they're doing. I'm saying, dude, you got to read the room and maybe don't shove that down your fans' throat. And so it's their team. They think Trent is the man to, find a coach and lead them to the promised land. And maybe, I'm not saying Trent's not good. I'm just saying when teams lose, people pay consequences, and typically he does not.
Well, we are hearing you loud and clear here, Michael. So the good news is, hopefully, I know it's a little choppy on your end, but we can hear you loud and clear. So that's the good news. As you referenced, perhaps coming down to Duval to do another investigative report, our arms are always wide open. Come on down. More than happy to have you here. And with that said, if memory serves me, you were in the virtual draft room, correct, in the 2020 draft with the Jaguars. And so I'm curious if, knowing your previous experience with Trent then, knowing his reputation around the league, did you get any sense during that 2020 season, his first season here in Jacksonville as the director of player personnel, that history may not repeat itself, but it does rhyme, in the words of Mark Twain? Did you get any inkling that was about to unfold?
No, and to clarify, that virtual draft, wow, what a saga. I was basically piped into Dave Caldwell's, personal. Everyone was separated, so I didn't have a great sense of what else was going on other than what Dave was doing. So, but no, I mean, Dave's a really smart guy. He was really easy to work with, and I was surprised maybe that he brought Trent in, but whatever. People in this league go to different places and reinvent themselves. I have a story out right now in The Athletic, of all things, about Ryan Grigson and Brian Flores with the Vikings in new roles, who have kind of reinvented themselves and tried to shed their ogre images and are now back in play. And, things change in the NFL, but I thought, they had that great run where they almost went to the Super Bowl, and then it dissipated so fast. And I think Shad was thinking, once they had that run, finally, we're going to be the team I thought we were. And then, it all went away so fast, and, that was certainly frustrating. He believed that when Tom Coughlin came in, that was going to be the answer. He believed that, when Doug Peterson came and they won that playoff game, okay, it's happening. He obviously is trying to shake it up, as owners do when teams don't perform. I think owners sometimes don't like to fire the coach and GM together, because then they're kind of untethered. And it's like, okay, well, who do I hire first? Who do I rely on to find these people? It's easier for an owner to say, okay, I'll fire the coach, but the GM and I will do the search together. There have been situations, for what it's worth, and I think, Mia, you asked this, if I'm not mistaken, in the press conference.
Yes.
But so, for example, when the Rams fired Jeff Fisher and were doing their search, in the one that resulted in Sean McVay being hired, their attitude was basically, hey, Les Snead's still our GM. We're not firing him, but we're going to go get a coach, and we're going to basically ask the new coach, like, yo, do you want to keep Les Snead or do you want us to go get someone else? And so they did hire a then 30-year-old coach who probably didn't feel comfortable, even if he wanted to make that move, doing that as a 30-year-old. Like, yay, I'm the youngest head coach in modern NFL history, and I'm making a power play from day one. So it turned out Les stayed, and to Les' credit, he's worked really well with Sean McVay, and they've got a great thing going, and they're back in the playoffs again, and it's cool. So I do think it's a fair thing to ask, right? Is Shad just saying, yeah, Trent's doing this search with me, but is it possible that he's going to, go after a big fish, and then if that person is like, yo, I'm your guy, cool, let's change the GM, then he'd do it. It doesn't feel that way to me, and you would know, having asked the question, like, it feels like he's not saying that. Now, would he hire a coach and a year later make a move or something if it's not working out? Maybe. But, like, it feels to me like he's saying, nah, you're not telling me to fire my GM. He's my guy.
Mike, I know Albert Breer, he reported today, he said it could indicate some flexibility in the roles in the front office. To me, it just adds on to the backwardness and dysfunction of what has been this last years with Trent Baalke here.
Yeah. I mean, like, if you were a coach with options, would you gravitate toward that or away from that? I would go, yeah, like, okay, like the GM's got like a magic spell over the owner maybe, or I'm not seeing something, but, I would add it to the list. I think Jags fans are such devoted fans, and they care so much, and they put up with a lot, in my opinion, recently. Like, it's, I think a lot of people around the country might take it for granted, but, like, try taking 2 home games a year away from Pittsburgh or something. Like, I know it's not a direct comparison, but that's kind of a thing. And, okay, cool. Like, I get it. I'm actually a fan of the London market, and I think it's a cool thing the NFL is doing, but also, like, it's a hedge, clearly. And, we tell people this is your team, right? Your Jacksonville Jaguars. But in America, what it really means is, they're owned by a really, really rich person, and that person may ask municipalities for help in certain ways, and municipalities have other priorities sometimes, like schools and, stuff like that. And so I know in California, we were kind of at the forefront of saying, you know what, we're not funding this stuff. Like, we're not going to subsidize billionaires' stadiums. And, we've lost some teams, right? Like, I lived in Oakland for a long time. We've lost a bunch of teams. It sucks. But it sucks when people tell you it's your team, and then it can be pried away from you or leveraged in that way. And it seems like the Cons are getting what they want. So if you're getting everything you want, again, I would read the room. Now, if Shad hires a good coach and he and Trent Baalke work together and they win games, it's going to be fine. Everybody's going to be happy. But I can see why Jacksonville, that fan base, is really upset right now.
Michael, we certainly hope safe travels for you, safe travels for your family as well.
I did want to ask you, Mike. I know our time with you is short. If you had to guess right now from what you're hearing, who will be the next head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars? And even if you don't have a name, maybe a type of coach that you anticipate they will hire.
Wow. First of all, I will stay on for you guys. Come on, man. It's an exciting moment for me. Plus, I owe you like a bunch of 7 seconds here or 4 seconds there of phone fade out. So, who will be the next coach? I'm looking for humor here. Like, I'm thinking, Doug Marrone is available, Tom Coughlin. I don't know. I think I would take Ben Johnson off the list. I would take Bill Belichick off the list, unless they blow out the GM. I don't think that's going to be real anyway. I don't think it'll be Urban Meyer. I think that's a fair bet. Like, he's not coming back. That's probably a good idea. Let's see. I think it'll be either somebody who, is a promising coordinator looking for a shot, or it'll be someone who's, a retread who's trying to get back in. I'll get back to you on that, but I don't think it's might be a good coach. It's just not on paper going to be the guy with options.
Well, we do appreciate your time. And like Mia said, the cell phone service has been good on our end. We appreciate it. Have a great day.
And now we finally dropped. Oh,
I'm sorry. That was like,
wow, you were messing with us. That's awesome. That is awesome, Mike. We appreciate you. I was like, wow, that's a heck of a bit. That's a mic drop right there. Mike, thank you for joining us. You are always welcome here on Helmets and Heels and 1010XL.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I'll tell you, I have a history with Dennis Rodman. We did a book together, infamous SI cover story, and I spent a lot of time with him. And I forgot this because it had been so long, but I talked to him recently, and he just hung up the phone abruptly with no warning. And I'm like, oh, that's what he does every single time. He's never once ended a phone call in the normal way. So hang up on me. Just end it right now, but thank you guys.
Thank you. That sounds like a Dennis Rodman.
We won't Rodman you. That was epic. Mike Silver, again, you can find him on X and all of his great stuff at The Athletic, at Mike Silver on the Twitter machine.
I do have to clarify, Shad is not asking all of Jacksonville to pay the entire amount of the stadium. It is split 50-50. Shad is contributing 50%. And then, of course, Jacksonville contributed 50% or will over the next few years due to taxes that were already in place. And I also have to clarify that Jags are not losing 2 home games each year when they go to London and play 2 games. It is 1 game in London that's a home game and 1 away game. So just wanted to clarify those 2 points. Taylor's Tangent is next. You are listening to Helmets and Heels on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
There's a reason why people love to listen to play-by-play on the radio.
This is unbelievable what we're witnessing. I'm serious.
1010XL, Jacksonville's home for play-by-play.
Hey, Jacksonville, I'm sure by now you've seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We are an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We are committed to customer service, reliability, and have unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. GFL, green for life.
Mia here. Since 1982, Closets by Design has specialized in creating dream spaces for every budget. My designer, Frances, made this process so easy. She came to my house and designed a beautiful and incredibly functional walk-in closet for me and old Beau Valentine. Call today to schedule your free in-home consultation at 1-800-293-3744. Hey, and if you mention Mia or Helmets and Heels, you qualify for free base molding. Call today or visit closetsbydesign.com. Locally owned and operated right here in Jacksonville.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminix. Before termites attack your home or business and cause costly damage, Terminix it. Terminix stops termites in my home fast. These destructive pests may have been around for millions of years, but before they show up, so does Terminix. And their time is up. Don't live with a termite problem. I certainly wasn't going to. Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com. Terminix.com.
If you're watching football this season, you know anything can happen. And on Hard Rock Bet, we mean anything. One fan in South Florida turned a $1 touchdown parlay into a $40,000 payday. Hard Rock Bet has parlays for days. With flex parlays, now you can even miss a few picks and still get paid. Parlays for every kind of play. Only on Hard Rock Bet. Roll with us. When your first bet or get up to $100 back in bonus bets. Payable and bonus bet up to $100, not a cash offer. Offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Must be 21 plus and physically present in Florida to wager. Terms and conditions apply. Concerned about gambling? Please call 1-888-ADMIT-IT.
It's Helmets and Heels, Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday.
It's New Year's resolution time, like fixing that leaky faucet, unclogging that drain, or getting your AC ready for the summer. Start the year off right with Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic and Air Conditioning. Call us today at 904-862-6769, because when you're stuck, call the Duck.
Need extra cash for the holidays?
Beaches Jewelry and Pawn is always buying guns, musical instruments, surfboards, and tools, and pays cash money. Beaches Jewelry and Pawn in Jacks Beach. Online at beachesjewelryandpawn.com.
Good drives bring more points. Randy Marion Cadillac of Jacksonville brings you the drive of the game.
Great job.
On 1010XL. Drive to the game in luxury with Randy Marion Cadillac of Jacksonville.
Open enrollment is here, so it's time to secure health coverage for your family. Whether you need Affordable Care Act plans, dental, or Medicare, visit one of the Florida Blue pop-up enrollment tents near you. They make the process easy and stress-free with medical and dental insurance you can count on. Plus, listen to this. Based on eligibility, many people pay absolutely nothing for coverage. Find the perfect Florida Blue plan for your family at the Aaron Group in Orange Park near the intersection of College Drive and 220. Here's a reminder for Florida Blue members. You can access Sanitas Medical Center with 3 locations around town offering primary care, walk-in services, an on-site pharmacy, and mental health support. 3 Sanitas Medical Centers, combined with Florida Blue coverage and expert service you'll get from the Aaron Group in Orange Park, will make you feel like a winner in Northeast Florida insurance coverage.
The Florida Forum welcomes New York Times bestselling author Deepak Chopra, moderated by Shad Khan, January 15th. Funds raised for a Kids Care Mobile ICU, a neonatal and pediatric critical care transport vehicle. Kids Care vehicles and helicopters safely transport more than 2,200 infants and children a year to Wolfson Children's Hospital. To get your tickets, call 202-2886 or click thefloridaforum.com.
Our slogan, Know Before You Blow, applies to more than just DUI cases. Hi, I'm attorney Lee Lockett of Lockett Law. Battery charges can result in jail time and criminal convictions too, so know before you blow a gasket and hit a loved one or a stranger. Drug crimes like possession of marijuana and cocaine will land you in cuffs too, so know before you blow. In a boating under the influence case, you also have the option to blow or not to blow. So know your options. Know before you blow. Go to knowbeforeyoublow.com now. Offices Jacksonville.
There are 3 certainties in life: death, taxes, and if you stay in your home long enough, a new roof. Pick it here for our friends at Lockhart Roofing. Nobody better in Jacksonville. How do I know? They are a local certified Master Elite contractor, and that means they have a GAF Master Elite warranty. That's the best in the roofing industry. In this day and age, don't settle for cheaper discount roofers. Lockhart Roofing has been here for decades. They aren't going anywhere. Call my friends at Lockhart Roofing, 994-3851. That's 994-3851. Lockhart Roofing, Jacksonville's best for Jacksonville people.
The smarter way to clean your floors. It's time to make the swap. Swiffer Power Mop.
Introducing the new Swiffer Power Mop, the all-in-one tool that gives you a mop and bucket clean in half the time. The solution's built right in, so no heavy bucket, and the pad has hundreds of scrubbing strips to get deep into grout. Don't mop harder, mop smarter.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Light up your lunch with Helmets and Heels.
Presented by First Coast Lighting and Fans.
On 1010XL.
Thanks again to Mike Silver for joining us of The Athletic. If you missed that, you can certainly find that on demand. And just a reminder, we will be here tomorrow. We will be here every Thursday from now on. So that's good news for all of you Heeligans. All right, right now, Taylor Dahl has a tangent.
Now, Taylor's Tangent, served up by Chick-fil-A on 1010XL.
I did a little research last night. I was talking to a bunch of the people in the draft world that I usually talk to. Around this time, I start doing a lot of podcasts when it comes to before the combine, getting to know some of these players and getting to know the strengths of the position groups in the draft and all of that sort of stuff to prepare me for once after free agency and you are full on in the draft. Well, this morning,
how is it already here?
I know.
Again,
It's crazy.
It feels like it's like we're going to be talking about the draft, just like how we started our show a year ago.
Yes. And so the Jaguars also this morning posted their first draft draft post saying the Jaguars select, and it was a graphic with the 5th pick. So here we are again, drafting in the top 5. We've talked about that a lot this week. But because of that, I did want to mention, I went and I talked to several different draft people that I normally get to, and we'll probably have some of them on Helmets and Heels too. They're all, I know you get all sorts of different insight when it comes to different people who they think is the strongest position groups, the weakest position groups, positions of need when it comes to each team, things like that. But I did like kind of a consensus of 10 different people that I talked to, and they gave me their list of the strongest, the deepest position groups to the weakest. They didn't list all of them, but to them, like the 6 deepest position groups for this NFL draft. So the running back, which I think most of us know that, the running back group has been kind of all over the place as the deepest. A lot of names to look for in the running back group. We talked about even the playoffs, how many running backs there were to watch in this year's playoffs and how good they were, which is fitting because we just saw a career year or a decade career year when it came to NFL running backs and how much they factored in to the success of teams outside of the Bengals. So running back was number 1, tight end was number 2, offensive tackle was number 3, defensive line number 4, outside linebacker 5, and then cornerback at number 6 were the consensus top 6 for what to expect in this draft. I think that most people would probably say, I know we're going to be talking about decisions of what happens with Travis Etienne, but I think most people are happy with Tank Bigsby. I don't think they were happy with the play calling technically when it came to the way the run was used and maybe the offensive line in certain scenarios. But I do think that most people like the running back group here. The tight end, I think that people like Evan Ingram and Brenton Strange really showed up this offseason, so that kind of moves that one to the side. Offensive tackle, you just signed Walker Little, and you obviously have Anton, so that's not one that people are
But you better
super,
draft a swing tackle.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's still something you look, but you're not going to do that high right now, most likely, because I do think you have so many holes elsewhere. But when you get to the defensive line, that's one that is going to stick out because it has been, we talked about this pass rush for years now of needing more of it in general, but also now to this point needing more of it outside of Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen. The outside linebacker, I know some people, we'll see what this defense looks like. We don't even really know, I guess, at this point, what defensive coordinator will be here, what he'll want to run, what that's going to look like. But corner is another one that we are going to be talking about. I know we love Jarian. A lot of people are still really high on Tyson Campbell, but I still think the secondary needs a lot of work. So in those deepest positions, I do think that there are still high importance in those deepest positions for the Jaguars. But I did also see an article, and it had the position groups that are most important. So I just wanted to run through these really quick of the teams that are drafting before the Jags, because that can give you a little bit of a sense of what to expect by the time the Jags are drafting. And we'll get more as more players officially commit to say they're entering the draft, and that will obviously give us a little bit more of a light. But right now, the Tennessee Titans, they say the biggest needs are quarterback, wide receiver, edge, offensive tackle, and safety. So
take that, Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, have fun with that. The Cleveland Browns, edge, offensive tackle, wide receiver, quarterback, running back. The Giants, quarterback, offensive tackle. It seems like a lot of people need some offensive tackles, so good year for these teams that all need offensive tackles. But quarterback, offensive tackle, offensive guard, corner, and safety. The Patriots, they have offensive tackle again, inside offensive line also, wide receiver, edge, and corner. And then for the Jacksonville Jaguars, they have corner as the biggest need, safety behind that, wide receiver, interior offensive line, and quarterback last.
I would not put corner first. As far as the Jags' biggest need, I would not put corner.
I would.
I think they need an outside corner.
Well, they need someone, and I can tell you, people in the building who remain believe they need another corner opposite Tyson Campbell, and that is nothing to do with Tyson's injury history. That's just the reality of the situation. Additionally, when it comes to picking 5th, we once again go back to the 2022 NFL draft when, in no world would you possibly pick a corner first, but you're going to pick a corner 5th instead of picking a guard or a interior defensive lineman unless he's a pass rushing interior defensive lineman. You're not going to pick a nose tackle 5th because that's not sexy. It doesn't matter if it's, why am I blanking on his name with the Eagles, was with Georgia, the nose tackle. Big guy.
Jalen Carter.
No, not Jalen Carter. The other one.
The other Georgia.
Yes.
Dean, Nakobe Dean.
No, that's a linebacker. Help us out here, Georgia fans. Whatchamacallit? He went 18th.
They have like all Georgia players.
He
on
went
their defense
18th
right
overall. It's Jordan Davis.
Oh, Davis.
You were never going to pick Jordan Davis fifth.
She was a country singer. I would have gotten it right
There
away.
you go. Exactly. They were never going to pick Jordan Davis fifth because that's not in vogue, right?
Hey, if you're going to pick an Aaron Donald or a Chris Jones,
but that's a pass rushing. Jordan Davis is not.
Right. I'm fine with if you can guarantee me a pass rushing interior defensive lineman, what we thought Eric Armstead was going to be, in other words, then I would take that position fifth.
The other part of this is that this is expected to be a weaker class at the top, a deeper class overall. And so that is where if you only have first round grades on 12 players and 4 of them are corners, then you probably should go corner because if you're going to draft the best player available, then that's who's there for you. And if Trent Baalke is running the draft, if the current situation is to still be the situation come April, I wouldn't be surprised if it is a corner or a defensive tackle who is a pass rushing defensive tackle, not a nose tackle, because as we know, arm length, measurables, that is his MO.
Yeah, a corner is certainly a priority. For me, the interior of the offensive line is a bigger priority moving forward.
Yeah, and them having that fourth, and they didn't technically rank them, they just listed, so I don't know if this means for them that they felt corner. They just had them kind of listed.
Sure.
It wasn't like number 1 corner, number 2, because I do think that interior offensive line has been a problem for a while, and I would put that first because I do think at this point you've proven that you need to be able to protect Trevor. I also think you have like no safeties, so that is also, but you're not going to draft it. It's not Sauce Gardner that is sitting up there. So
all right, good job, Taylor. We have one segment to go on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
This is Hayes Carlion for Physician Guided Weight Loss. I need help losing weight. I'm older and I don't have the discipline needed. Luckily, I discovered Physician Guided Weight Loss. Their amazing technology, fast setup, friendly staff, and proven results sold me. They can help you too, and it's affordable with firm pricing, so no rising costs as you go. If you're like me and looking to kick off the new year with a leaner body, call Physician Guided Weight Loss at 257-4344. That's 257-4344.
Mia here for my friends at Projax Roofing. Winter is coming. Actually, it's kind of already here. If your roof took on any damage at all this year and you want to get ahead of these cold winter months, know that Projax Roofing is here to help. From the smallest of repairs to full roof replacements, my friend Mike has been serving all of Northeast Florida for 25 years. If you need any help with your roof, call Projax Roofing at 904-338-1722 and you will speak to Mike directly. Or visit them online at projaxroofingfl.com.
Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today from GFL, Green for Life.
It's Helmets and Heels, Kingfish Pest Control Wednesday. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Mia here for MyBookie, hoping everyone had a profitable NFL regular season betting weekend with MyBookie. College football playoff marches on with the Final Four. Notre Dame is favored by 1.5 over Penn State on Thursday. The over-under for that game is 47 points. The matchup suggests a relatively close contest. We know anything can happen. We're taking a look at betting the over here on points total after the offensive showing they both had in the quarterfinals. Friday night, Ohio State favored by 6 against Texas. The over-under here is at 53.5 points, indicating expectations for a bit of a higher scoring affair. The Buckeyes' lead in the spread might reflect confidence in their performance and also is likely to be where the betting public is putting their money. That 6-point line, though, that's pretty hefty. We'll look for Texas to cover the spread. Guys, if you haven't yet, sign up now at MyBookie and still get a 50% deposit bonus. That's half your money back on your very first deposit up to $1,000. Promo code 1010XL. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.
What makes that famous call?
Dinner's ready.
Even better? It's cooking a great meal with natural gas, enjoying faster cooking times and precise temperature control. And now getting a valuable cash rebate up to $300 when you install an energy-efficient natural gas range or cooktop.
Anyone want seconds?
When you show your home love with natural gas, it loves you right back. To learn more and how to qualify, visit peoplesgas.com/rebates.
Living on Amelia Island? Having fun in Fernandina Beach? No matter what brings you to the fun, cozy town, make sure you check out the tap room at Mocama Beer Company. With a full flight of craft creations, from the Cosmico IPA to the Motor, the perfect Pilsners and lagers, matching memories and some Mocama magic is what it's all about. Mocama Beer Company in Fernandina Beach, near the big water where the sun is born. And look for more Mocama craft at your local Total Wine or ABC Liquors.
Here we come.
The best defense is a superior fence. Superior Fence and Rail highlights the defensive player of the game. On 1010XL, Superior Fence and Rail, where quality matters.
Daly's Dash is not only your Jaguars game day stop, but a great place to grab a meal any day of the week. To honor the Jags and the fans, we've crafted the Duval sub. The Duval comes with freshly sliced turkey, ham, melted cheddar, and habanero jack cheese, topped with crisp lettuce, fresh tomatoes, and a double portion of our secret sauce, all served on a fresh roll. Come by your local's Daly's Dash today to get your delicious Duval sub. Daly's is the official convenience store sponsor of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Attention skilled electricians. Are you undervalued at your current company? Time to step up to the bigger projects and better opportunities. Join the team at Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering not just the job, but an experienced, top-notch pay, unbeatable benefits, and the best working environments in the business. Please join the team that values your skills and rewards your hard work. Elevate your career to new heights. Apply today at millercareers.com, an equal opportunity employer.
Bueller Air and Plumbing presents Are You Cool? Today's contestant, a professional stamp licker from Jacksonville, Florida, meet Martin Celery.
Oh, gosh. I can't wait to play, Bob.
Well, let's move things along. Tell him what he's won, Johnny.
Wait, but
That's right, Marty. At Bueller Air and Plumbing, we've stocked up on the remaining inventory of low-cost 2024 model air conditioners. So you win. We're passing the savings on to you.
Can I answer a question first?
We need to make room for the 25s, so we're offering great deals on AC replacements while supplies last.
Could I spin the wheel at least? I've been practicing for a year.
With last-minute deals like this, there's no question that you are cool.
What do I tell my kids?
There you go. Have a souvenir t-shirt.
Thanks.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
This is Dr. James Perry, Assistant Team Physician for your Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's the latest update on the Jaguars, brought to you by Baptist Health and JOI.
Jaguars owner Shad Khan gave the rundown on what he views as the highest priority to get turned around by the new coaching staff, as he felt one of the top reasons the team fell short so many times this year was due to the team being too unpredictable.
We are the most predictable team on both sides of the ball. And football, to win, deception is a big part of it. Unpredictability. If you know exactly what we're going to do on offense or defense, you better have the 22 best players to help us win a football game.
The team has requested to interview 8 coaches from around the league in hope to find one to make them, as owner Shad Khan wants to see, unpredictable. I'm Max Fink with your Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Jaguars update.
XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Now the cool down with Donovan Air, Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since '87.
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, obviously it's public knowledge he's getting the interview for the Jacksonville job, but it's going to come down to a one-on-one at Sawgrass for him to decide whether he actually takes the interview. No, but Liam's done an incredible job, and it's the influence he's had throughout all the guys teaching the game of football. And I've mentioned to you guys like all year that teaching the details of why we're doing certain things, why we have certain plays alerted or canned, whatever you want to call it, and he does a great job of that. And then calling the plays with player strengths, that's what good OCs do, and so he's done an unbelievable job of that.
That is the voice of Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Pro Bowl snub Baker Mayfield when asked this morning about offensive coordinator Liam Coen having an opportunity to interview for the Jaguars head coaching vacancy. We had to bring you guys that one because, A, justice for Baker. Secondly, I appreciated the response. We had to cool down with it.
Calling plays to your quarterback's strengths. What does that mean?
I don't know. I don't know what explaining the why is about either. Like what exactly is that like if a coach was to sit down with you and say, hey, we're running this play to set up this play that sets up that play, because when you're just you're running a bunch of disjointed plays just because they look cool, there's no flow, there's no reason, and
There's predictability.
You can't explain the reason. Oh, it's unpredictable because it's just, hey, I found this one from a Furman State game from 7 years ago, and then this one's from a high school in Arkansas, and there's no let's set up the run to open up the passing game or anything like that.
Also, a coach in Jacksonville playing a Jacksonville golf course. That seems different.
Yeah, exactly.
Versus
Nothing
going out of town to
Baker
play golf.
Mayfield, I don't know if he's ever played Sawgrass, but Baker, know that we will find a way to get you onto Sawgrass.
I'm not worried about Baker. I'm worried about the next head coach.
Yeah, that too. Yes,
Baker's
exactly.
fine.
Right.
He's had enough commercials.
If he wants
in
to
his
have
life.
this one-on-one with Liam Coen, we can make it happen. Just let us know, Baker. I'll make some calls.
All right, time now for the Terminex Pest of the Day. Terminex is coming out to our house tomorrow, I can talk, I promise, to determine why we have an ant problem. If they can handle Everbank Stadium and Daly's Place, then they can certainly handle issues at my house, at your house, or your business. Taylor, this one's directed towards your team, sort of. The Cowboys are my pest of the day because they made the Bears wait 24 hours to deny permission for Mike McCarthy to interview.
But also, thank you.
Well, and I understand that from your perspective, but why?
But also,
why'd you make him wait 24 hours? Just say no right away.
Also, his contract's over the 14th. So are they going to extend him between that time? Because if not on the 14th, he can interview anyway. So you're just being like, what are you doing?
So the expectation is that they will have a new deal done.
That's what I'm guessing.
But here's the other problem. Not only will Mike McCarthy be a free agent, but his entire staff will be. And not that because of the modern Rooney rule, I expect other teams to already have their head coach in place. I don't think that's going to happen just because of the timeline and how many candidates you are required to interview. But that can't stop those other assistant coaches from saying, all right, like you took forever with Mike, you're going to take forever with me. I'm going to go test the waters of free agency. Yeah. And then what do you do if you're Jerry Jones and your plan was to run it back? And then because you waited so long, you can't run it back with every single piece you had on that staff last year.
Yeah, I saw that. My first thing was like, thank you, first of all, because I did not want Mike McCarthy whatsoever.
But you
yeah,
had to wait 24 hours to figure out whether or not he was going to be allowed to interview.
All of the coaching, all of the rules and stuff for the coaching searches are already a little weird. I know they have to kind of implement certain things because it would just be like the Wild West if they were just like, everybody can interview no matter what. And it's honestly a little strange to me that they even let you do any sort of interviewing while you are still game planning for a game that is in a few days. It's very interesting, honestly, that they even let that happen.
Yeah, it's kind of like different, but how in college football, players can enter the transfer portal when their team is about to take on a playoff game. Those rules shouldn't be like that either.
I saw a lot of people tweeting about that during the bowl games, and I don't think we ever talked about this, but the amount of players that were playing in the bowl games but were like actively in the portal, and I'm like, that almost like, if I was a coach, I'd be like, you don't want to be here, go, like, you sit, we'll see what we actually have, because I also need to figure out what's next if you're leaving. And I know not all of them are leaving, but you're putting your name in the portal for a reason because you don't love where you're at, apparently, or you want more money.
Right, absolutely. All right, let's get it to last night's quickly before we do 2-minute drill. Last night's Florida victory over Tennessee in men's basketball. I was very nervous going into it because of how good Tennessee looked. You did, but Tennessee looked so good against Arkansas, and obviously the last unbeaten team. I knew that the O'Connell Center, the O-Dome, would be an insane asylum, especially because of the fact that Florida doesn't get to have Kentucky at home this year, right? Mm-hmm. So they have to savor the home games that they get against top 10 teams. And so Tennessee obviously being number one in the country at the time. But my goodness, they got out to that early start and I was at home screaming like, all right, I want 8-0. I want 13-0. Like, just keep them at bay because the more you can do that, the better off you'll be. Obviously, a tough night for Chaz Lanier and a great night for the Gators.
I saw Strickland kick some fans out, too.
Did he?
Did you see that tweet?
No.
I saw a tweet going out that some of the fan section, they were like, it's not as loud as you would have expected with the point lead that they had. And they said he kicked a whole part of the student section out.
Well, so to clarify on that front, I don't know the exact if he kicks people out or not, but the university did sell half of the student section because school is not in session yet. And so
the Rowdy Reptiles were lined up very early
since
yesterday
5
morning.
a.m. We live in a capitalist society. I understand Scott Strickland saying, you know what? I don't want this to be an empty student section because not everybody's on campus, and that doesn't look great on the part of us as a university. Not to mention, if I can make a little extra money, I'm going to do so. So I don't fault him, but at the same time, this is a top 10 matchup. Like, the students, at the very least, those that live in the surrounding areas will come back for this game, and they obviously did.
Yeah.
And not everyone was able to watch the game.
Yeah, I saw, number one, there's videos. So if you Google it, there's videos of him, of students getting kicked out of the student section. But they did say there was kids waiting 4, 5, 6 hours to try and get in and didn't get a seat in the student section.
Right, because they had sold the tickets to the alumni.
Yeah.
Which, again, it's a capitalist society. I get it.
Let's talk about the game.
I know. I made it into a negative thing.
It takes away from the purity of college sports. Chaz Lanier, yes, 3 of 16, started 0 of 5 from the floor, and still somehow, some way was tied for being the leading scorer for Tennessee. You're not going to see...
Because it was such a bad shooting night for all of them.
Correct. You're not going to see this regression to the mean across the board for that Volunteers lineup. It's too talented and too tough-nosed, and it just so happens that it all happened on one night in Gainesville. And...
So what happens to rankings now?
Tennessee will drop, but not significantly. Florida will go up. Kentucky, who Florida lost to by 6 and two baskets on Saturday, did get beat by Georgia.
I didn't know who to cheer for in that game last night, by the way, because obviously Florida had just lost to Kentucky, so I wanted Kentucky probably to win.
Like every basket, you're like,
I can't cheer for Georgia and Mike White because he was the former Florida coach, so I didn't know what to do. I was almost just not having an enjoyable experience, but I was still riding the high of Florida winning and not having to even be remotely nervous. And just the style of basketball that Todd Golden plays, since I mentioned Mike White, that's what has Gator fans so excited. You're going to see such a fun product. And the way this team isn't always going to make the threes, those gorgeous threes that we saw Kobe Bryant shoot for Kentucky against Florida, like they don't necessarily have that type of lethal shooter. But what they have is guys that are feisty in the paint and they get after it, whether it's Alex Condon, Thomas Houck, or Ruben Shengelu. They are just super scrappy and they will box out and they will get those rebounds. And I, for one, love it because that's when I played basketball, I was never a great shooter, but I would absolutely do all those other things.
I just got such a kick out of everyone who was like, oh my God, Florida didn't play defense against Kentucky on Saturday. No, they did. It's just
they had a lot of defensive miscues.
Right. They had a couple, but to be clear, Kentucky had the most efficient offensive game of any team in the country this season, and Florida had the 6th most efficient offensive game of any team in the country this season. They just so happened to be playing Kentucky that day.
Yes, but I will say when you watch a team leave someone like Abrea wide open for threes or Carr, that one that was the dagger late in the game, that's where you do feel that. And I mean, you did allow 106 points. Yes, you put up 100, but you still allowed 106. But yeah, I would say Rick Barnes, watching him on the bench last night's really a bench, it's a chair, but he looked so defeated and basically wasn't even coaching his team. And then you had the opposite in Todd Golden, and I love Todd Golden's personality, and I think his team plays a lot like his personality.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. It's an off shooting night. If you're Rick Barnes, you look at this and you say, you know what? Hopefully everybody's off shooting night for the season was on the same night. I'd rather have it that way than have it spread out. And so, yeah, I think you write it off. You say it's regression to the mean. It's the inevitable letdown after an impressive victory over Arkansas on Saturday. And the exciting news, Lauren, is we do get a round 2 between these two teams in Knoxville later this year.
Let's say hello to another Gator.
Now, the 2-minute drill. Serviced by Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. Locally owned and operated. We're your neighbors. Find the coolest cats in town at coolcatsjacks.com.
We won't waste your time, though, talking about Florida men's basketball. Let's talk about the Jaguars. Isn't that a much more enjoyable subject?
Listen, the son-in-law in the power rankings, he sunk once again. The Volunteers stink. Rocky Top, I had hope for them. Against Ohio State, they completely let me down in that playoff game, and so they deserved this one. They definitely did.
They absolutely did. Joe, there's been, I think, rumors, a lot of underworkings or underground people saying that maybe Trent Baalke isn't going to keep his job. Do you believe any of that?
We're sitting in there talking, and we'll pull some of the sound from, I think, Albert Breer saying it. Frisco's intimating it. You guys had Mike Silver on. Anyway, I've reached a point now, based on the presser, that Khan is not going to change the current structure. I don't think he wants a head coach bad enough to move Balki out. Now, there may be some grand plan, and I would love for that to happen, but I just don't believe it. I am a non-believer.
I just don't think. That's how I'm like, please prove me wrong, because at this point, I don't believe it.
I just don't think he knows what the rest of the league's perception is of him, and that's why it was great.
Awful.
It was great to have Mike Silver on, because Mike Silver is close with the Khan family, and he said you would think, because they're high IQ people and they've owned a team for a decade plus.
Hugely successful when it comes to business and eye for innovation and progress. Let's look what they're doing downtown. They have a lot of successful stories to tell, but it's easier to lose and make money than it is to figure out a way to win and make money. And unfortunately, they're in the L category. Just take a look at the number of losses that they have since 2012. It's so disappointing for the fan base.
What's coming up?
Well, we'll definitely do that. I feel like we can't get off of it.
We're in a hamster wheel.
We can't get off of it because of what Breer said, Prisco said, the conversation you guys had. Anyway, we will stay on it, and we got to work at some college football playoff chatter.
Yeah.
A little bit from last night with what both Georgia beating Kentucky and Florida beating Tennessee did. So anyway, we'll sneak some of that in, but it's still HC.
All right, thanks, Joe.
All right, thank y'all.
All right, Taylor, we'll enjoy vacation over the next 2 days.
Oh, thank you. I am excited. And go Irish.
There you have it. For Mia O'Brien, for Taylor Dahl, for RJ Saunders, I'm Lauren Brooks. These heels are made for talking. We will talk to you tomorrow.